So we're going to. Okay, so as a webinar format, cameras are off, everyone's automatically on mute. I'll go over the housekeeping in a second. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. I was just talking before we went online there that this is the first time I've done one of these in a few months, which is great because I was doing them 4 or 5 times a week between my role at NorCal and Legacy, and I almost forgot some of the tricks. So forgive me if I'm a little bit rusty and things are a little all over the place, but it's certainly nicer to be doing more on the grass and on the field than in webinars format. So thank you for taking the time. I appreciate you. I'm David Robertson. I'm the Executive Director. We have Josh Lutzker, our President, Justin Howard, our Administrative Director of Finance, who I'm sure you don't know him in person. You certainly know him by virtue of the emails. His name's on many of the emails you probably get. And then we have Nate Boyden, our Technical Director. Again, just a couple of housekeeping things. As mentioned previously, this is different from a regular Zoom meeting. It's a webinar format, which means everyone's cameras are off and you're automatically on mute. We have several hundred people in the meeting, which is great. Please use the Q&A tab for questions. So if you have questions, please use the Q&A tab. And again, this has been recorded and will be shared. The objective, as mentioned, is to review club expectations and provide an update to answer any pertinent questions. We'd like to keep the focus on the club expectations as we go over, but we also realise this may be a chance for you to ask a question that pertains to the group, or you have a question. Justin and Josh will be taking care of the questions in the background as Nate and I deliver the presentation. Before we start and get to the presentation, I'm sure you probably saw that Josh was nominated and is voted in as the president yet again. I think I'm right in saying he's the longest serving president in club history, which is great for the continuity and the chance to continue on much of the great work he's done. So we're delighted to have Josh back for another term. So Josh, I know you don't want to take too much of the time, but if you get any quick remarks before we get started, that'd be great.
Thanks, David, and thank you everybody for joining. As David said, I do not want to take much time, but I want to express my thanks to everybody for your trust in David's legacy. We don't take our responsibility lightly, and we just are really appreciative that you're, again, taking the time to join us tonight, to listen to some of the expectations we have, as not only from the staff point of view, but as hopefully we can translate that to the parents and to the kids to continue to create an exceptional environment for all the youth players, the parents, and as well as the visitors that come to our complex. I just want us to be an example for not only everybody at our club, but for the entire NorCal region, as well as any teams that outside of NorCal comes and visits our complex through our tournament series. So again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your trust in us to teach your kids soccer, as well as a lot of different life skills that I think you'll see come through in this presentation. And we look forward to seeing you out on the grass, as well as at Barefoot on the Pitch in a couple weeks. So thanks again, and look forward to talking to you soon.
Thanks so much, Josh. This morning when I sent out a reminder to the managers, I was almost going to apologize for, I know you've heard this all before, and please come on and give us your time. And then as I was going through with Nate putting this slide deck together, I realized that this is I'm not going to apologize, because there's, as a parent and as someone who's been around the world and listened to, some great people, a lot smarter certainly than I am. It gave me a chance to reflect, and some of the messages that we deliver, certainly as a parent and as an educator, it helped me reinforce some of the things I've heard before, and it gave me a good fresh perspective. So I know the time will be worthwhile if you are willing to listen and open your mind and realize that we can always do a better job, certainly myself included. Parenting is the most humbling thing ever. Nate now, for the first time, his daughter was out of the U8 program, and I'm sure, Nate, you can get your under 18 boys to pay attention and listen and focus, but I'm pretty sure that getting your daughter to brush her teeth is a little bit more challenging and go to bed at times. So as parents, I can say firsthand, we know how challenging it is. So yeah, we certainly don't claim to be the experts or have the answers or a answer. We're just going to share with you some of the great messages that we've heard over the years. Not our theory, just some people a lot smarter and a lot more invested in this than we are. And hopefully, if like everything, if there's something, one slide, one message, one thing that sticks that'll help help you as parents, or help you to reinforce positive messages to other parents, it'll make our club a better place. So we do appreciate the time and the diligence that you're going to give us here. So thank you. I'm not going to read this to you. We've heard this before. We've seen it before. It's on the website. The key thing underlined is continuing to participate in sport throughout their lifetime. That can happen in many different ways. As you know, lifetime soccer could be just us old coaches out here kicking the ball, you know, just for fun on a Friday night. We did have a few refreshments afterwards, but you know, we're out there just because we love the game, and you know, that's lifetime soccer for us. I don't think there's anyone other than Simon who played in the World Cup, and Nate done all right professionally, but no one here made a real, you know, living out the game as a professional player. That's why we're all coaches, right? But we love the game, and the game gives us, you know, so much back. So, you know, and again, lifetime soccer could be your son, your daughter kicking the ball with their kids when they're, you know, when they're older. So it can come in many different facets. So we're very proud of our pathway. The picture on the left here is a picture I took at the tournament just a couple of weeks ago. Many of you know Gabby Herrera, who coaches with Davis Legacy. And then the girl to the side of her is Jalen Krim, who actually just signed professionally in Europe, but she went through Sacramento United, went through the program. And the reason I took this picture is because they used to play against each other for many years. I used to see them battle on the field. And then watching them coach against each other was the highlight for sure of my week. They've went full circle. They've went through everything, and then they're coaching against each other. And that was a real nice kind of, I guess, example of the game giving you something back. And I think there's even lots of people in the club. You know, Jesus Mata played in the club. Nate, you know, I'll speak to in a little bit. He went through the club as well, although he did leave at one point and come back, but we won't hold that against him. So yeah, the game, you get the game gives you so much back. And our goal is, some players will go off and play collegiate soccer. Very rarely you'll get, you know, one or two that will be professionals. But if people can continue to love the game, enjoy the game, that's our goal. That's our goal throughout. Just one thing. These pictures were taken today. Nate, I'll let you speak to this a little bit, but this was our U8 program that started tonight. Nate was out there, and Nate can speak to these pictures in a little bit about why we're very happy to see these pictures and what it means to us as an organization.
Yeah, thanks, Robo. Thanks everybody for joining us tonight. I'm Nate Boyden, the technical director at the Legacy, and I took these pictures, or I had Didi. A lot of you guys know Coach Didi. Take these pictures for tonight's presentation because I think it speaks to the quote below. Right. And I'll read the quote verbatim. Educational environments are designed that nourish students who then uniquely transform those environments. So in this picture, we have two of our older students, right? I mean, Zach Anderson here on the left is out here coaching, and Kai Paris is out here on the right coaching. Is two guys from our U19 team. Now here they are having gone through the program, and now they're in a position to help create the environment for the younger players coming through. So everyone that was out there coaching in the U6 and the U8 program had played at the Davis Legacy previously. There were some older coaches like Coach Lama or Coach Didi, and now there are some current players who you could say are younger coaches trying to, in a sense, give back to the community. All right. And I chose this quote again because during the pandemic, I kept thinking about how could we create a better soccer school? How could we create a better soccer school? So I think in order to help navigate that path, I went to some of the educational theorists, and this quote comes from Zach Stein. Very great book. I recommend it. Education at a Time Between Worlds. and he wrote it pre-pandemic, but a lot of what he's talking about has been sped up because of what we're going through collectively. And his definition of education is really just intergenerational transmission of knowledge. Intergenerational transmission of knowledge. And I think that we're doing a decent job. And Robo mentioned I played at the Legacy. I'm very happy to be back, able to give back to the community that nourished me, that nurtured me. And I think that's what I want the club to continue to be, a place that nurtures young people, a place where they can be themselves, and a place where they can help learn to be good members of a community, so that ultimately they can give back to that community and they can then transform it and help to make it better, right? Make it a better place. And then the last thing I'll say about this slide, at least from a philosophical direction for the club, you know, when Zach Stein is making these quotes, he's kind of comparing an information processing mind as a computer metaphor to an ecological approach, or mind as an ecosystem metaphor. And we met as coaches a week ago, and we kind of talked about these different learning theories, a more cognitivist information processing approach versus a more post-cognitivist contemporary approach, which really sees the performer or the learner invested in an environment. So more about the mind as an ecosystem and what that means for our teaching practices, our coaching practices, and the type of stewardship that we can practice on the field to continue to try to be a better soccer school. All right, I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Thank you, Nate. The next slide here, again, this is one that I'll let you read this at your own leisure, but this young lady here is a player I had the pleasure of coaching for many years. And you know, she'll be quite. I mean, I think our quote here pretty much says it. But for her, soccer was a big part of her life, not just on the field, but it really helped her deal with a lot of things she was dealing with off the field. She would get the bus to training, we'd pick her up, by the subway, and soccer for her was her life. And she's able to come now. She's coaching. She's giving back. She has a young son in the club. I used to laugh when Ashley used to tell me, I coached that kid's mom, and I said, Ashley, well, you're getting old now. I'm at that point, but I'm like, geez, I coached the kid's mom in the club. So I'm with you there, Ashley. I don't know if Ashley's on, but certainly it made me feel old, but it also made me feel, somewhat accomplished. So this was a nice moment for me. And again, it's about giving back to the community and the program. And did she go off and play in college? No. She actually played at a JC and done well, but the soccer gave her a lot. It was a big thing in her life, and it continues to be, and she's continuing to pass it on. So the game's incredible. It gives you so much. I've been around the world because of soccer. I've been in taxis in countries where I don't speak the language, they don't speak my language, and we've had conversations the whole way on soccer, just mentioning players, mentioning teams, mentioning names, and it really is the universal sport. It's the world game. And there's an interesting book. I know, Nate, you're a big reader, but How Soccer Invented the World, or I think it's to that extent, but it talks about how soccer explains the world. So that's an interesting one. So we love it. We feel it's a great platform. In fact, we can speak through facts. I think there's a lot of studies out there. There is studies, I can share them, that show that people that participate not just in soccer but in team sports throughout life are more employable. They're more likely to get into college. They learn the interpersonal skills, problem solving, being accountable, being part of a team, goal setting. These are all qualities that are required throughout life. So as parents, it's a big part of why you put your kids in youth sport, and certainly for me it is as well. So that's a slide I wanted to share. Really important, the game environment. This is what we want to get to as we approach. Really the games are coming up, thick and fast. Full slate of games this weekend. I witnessed something, without getting into too much, at our complex a couple of weeks ago, not involving legacy teams, at our tournament, which made me sick to my stomach. The environment was toxic. It was horrible. And I remember leaving saying, I'm really proud to be part of legacy. So I want to, first of all, tip my hat to the 99.9% of parents in our club. In fact, I'll say at this point, there's no reason to think not everyone. We all have our moments, but generally speaking, we create a positive environment, at least from the weekend that all the directors went out and witnessed, and the feedback from the coaches, we're proud of where we're at. The video I'm about to show you is a couple minutes, not even a couple minutes. We went on a coach education trip to Barcelona. Jesus Mata took this video on the sideline along with the parents. There are a number of parents which you can't see, but I just want you to listen and just listen to the environment. You can tell a lot just by listening. And I'm going to I need to stop sharing, I think, to share my audio. Okay, bear with me. It's been a few weeks since I've done these, which is good. Okay, I'm going to play this. Nate, give me a thumbs up if it's good. And I won't play for too long. You can see how calm the players are, especially the Barca players that have the ball. But also, I think the calmness comes because the parents are calm. It's a calm atmosphere. It's football, and it's very relaxed. And I mean, I know we have our tournaments and we get excited, but really for players to thrive and players to develop, and they'll touch on it later. The last thing they want to hear is people shouting and screaming instruction from the sideline. They're busy. They have the ball. This boy right now is focusing on heading the ball or bringing it down. I'm guessing he's going to get it under control. If he's hearing 10 people speak to him, then he can't concentrate. He's focusing on the ball right now. The only thing this kid is looking at is the ball. That's 100% of his attention. Whatever comes out of this person, he's probably even got headphones on, it looks like, or maybe it's cold, maybe that's earmuffs, I don't know. But whatever comes from here, not interested. That little thing, that pelota, that little round thing is the only thing the kids are focusing on in this moment. Let's see if he heads it or takes a touch. Yep, took a bad touch, so we're all human. There's a good example, even at the Barca Academy. So wanted to share that. And then the next slide, if I can change the next slide. This was the sideline behind where Jesus video. I'm only joking, it wasn't really, but these gentlemen here you probably recognize, Mr. Messi and Mr. Suarez, watching their kids play. Chilled, shoes off, relaxed. Probably helps that they've got a couple of $100 million in the bank to be relaxed. But my point being, high performance sports players and parents, they've been through it, they get it, they know it, and there's no reason why we can't just sit and watch our kids play. And again, for the vast majority of the time, that does happen. But we have been out there and we've seen the games get really intense, the players up and down the sideline. And that does kind of, that reverberates around the whole environment. So we want players to play in a calm, relaxed manner, but obviously with intensity. That's not a contradiction in terms, you can do both. So I think that the atmosphere from the sideline can help dictate that. So again, you're there. It's a privilege to watch your kids play. I'm sure you all know that. We'll get to that later. But that's the environment we want, not the environment I saw last week or 2 weeks ago, and certainly not this environment. This is funny, but it's not funny because it's a little bit true. And I'll play this one for you. This is I would say he's a famous actor, but he's well known in the UK.
You're right. My old woman can referee escape bench.
Listen to this muppet. Every week he does this, screaming and shouting at the ref.
Ref! That's a yellow card, ref! Card him! Yellow card him, ref! Yellow card, mate! Clue, you want to learn the rules? How are these kids supposed to learn the game if you don't know the game? He's an animal. Give him a yellow card. You're an animal. He deserves a card.
Look at him, the ref. He gives up his Saturday mornings to do this. Now, was it the right decision? It might have been, it might not have been. Who knows? We all make mistakes.
You mug.
Would you take this at work?
Okay, thank you.
No, don't thank me. Thank you.
Just clear the playing area, please.
You ain't got a clue.
All right.
Clown.
You see, Dad's trying to live out his own dreams for his son.
Stevie! Come on, son, plenty of art! Plenty of art! Get ready, son, Rome's in it! What's the matter with you? That's a suicidal boy!
Now, how's he supposed to learn
Rome's in
if he can't make his own mistakes?
How many times I got to tell you? Come on, get after it! Come on, son.
Not exactly setting a good example, is he?
Referee, you're not watching the game, mate. You're watching me. You ain't gonna see nothing here. Watch the game.
It's no wonder we're losing so many refs when they're having to put up with people like Jet the Biscuit here every week.
Come on, Stevie. You're running about like a chicken with no head. Liven it up.
And it's no wonder thousands of kids give up the game either. If we carry on like this, we won't have a game left.
Ref. Ref?
Some of us need to take a long, hard look at ourselves.
So that was in England, the Respect campaign with the English FA. So it's a worldwide problem, not just here. You know, it's and referee shortage is a major deal. You've probably seen emails go out about, you know, referee classes. We're very lucky that we have a referee assigner that can furnish what we need. But I do know if you do go and play a club that has one referee versus three, there's a reason for it. There's a shortage of referees, especially, you know, during the pandemic, where a lot of them, you know, decided to move on. And, you know, I've had some strong, you know, strong-willed or strong-minded players over the years that have tried it. They've got their license and they go out. They have one bad experience, and like they say, it's a Saturday afternoon. Granted, they get paid, but, you know, to get paid $35 for getting abuse, you know, it's not always at the top of the list. So really important that we, you know, again, it could be somebody's kid, it could be somebody's husband, it could be somebody's dad, or mom, or daughter, or sister. So let's think twice before we, you know, let the referees know how frustrated we are. And again, we're not perfect as coaches as well. We get hot under the collar. We say things we regret, but we need to hold each other accountable. And you know, it's up to us to do that. Segue in, Nate. You're going to go over some more of our educational pedagogy, if you will, on why the environment helps the players develop. So I'll not steal your thunder. I'll let you go on. Thanks, Nate.
Yeah. No, thanks, Robo. I appreciate it. Yeah, this is a model that we started to adopt over the past couple of months. It's a model of constraints developed by Carl Newell, a child developmental psychologist. It's a rather old model, but it started in 1986, so not that old, let's say. But it started to get more adopted in the sports sciences. And I put the model up here, and it can be kind of overwhelming visually, and maybe it's a little complex, but really the point that I want to try to get across is please don't coach your kids from the sidelines. All right. We just had the U6 and U8 parent meeting. Brian Seifert held it, and we were outside, about 50 parents or so. And the message was the same. Please don't coach your kids from the sidelines. You may think that you're helping, but the research kind of shows that you're most likely not. And we can kind of work through this model and find out why that's the case. And I'll be brief with it, but essentially what this model of motor learning or motor behavior is saying is that any movement arises based upon the interaction of these three constraints. The individual has constraints, right? We have limits, but from there we can have strengths, right? So height, flexibility, etc. And then more functional constraints. Maybe it's your attention, your mood for the day. And then there are environmental constraints, right? What are the weather conditions? Is it super hot out? Different lighting, etc. And then we can come down to the task constraints, all right? And I think this is where coaches have the biggest role. This is where coaches can start to basically play with these different constraints to try to make different behaviors emerge. So this is your rules or your regulations, the equipment that you're using in the training, the number of players within a certain activity. But basically all of these act in a very dynamic way to allow certain movements to emerge. And then here they have a information and a movement coupling, essentially saying that our perception and our actions are coupled together to help us move in our environment. And then from there, we have some sort of movement solution, or at least we're trying to have some sort of functional movement solution. And so where does the coaching from the sidelines come in? Whether you're a parent or a coach, right? It's an instructional constraint, right? Which we can put under the task constraints. So it's going to have an influence on how players move in their environment. So I bring it up because I think from the coach's standpoint, our verbal instruction, and you could hear the Barca coach when if you watch that video, you could hear the Barca coach. You could, but the coach's instructions are looking at this model here, still just a small piece of the puzzle, right? It's a much larger kind of environment that's in play when it comes to having a player make decisions or move on the pitch, right? But the coach's role in terms of instructions matter, but they're not everything, okay? And at the same time too, I put the parents coaching from the sidelines in there as not negligible. They do have an influence, right? They do have an influence. So if we talk about the relevant information on the field, and this is what guides players' movement and behavior, that relevant information, and Robo kind of already spoke to it. It's like, where's the ball? Where are your teammates? Where are the opponents? Where's the goal? Where's the sideline? Where's the space? What are the interpersonal distances? These are the things that we're perceiving or picking up in the environment that it's guiding us to move throughout and explore our environment. And that's where perception and movement are coupled. If a player is constantly trying to attend to what the coach says on the sideline or what their parent is saying from the sideline, we're going to take away a lot of that relevant information or their ability to make their own decision. Really, that's what it comes down to. We want to try to have autonomous, self-regulated, as in they're able to regulate their own performance, their own emotions to a large extent, adaptable performers. Like for me, this is kind of one of the trajectories we want to be on with player development. Adaptable, self-regulated, autonomous performers, and we need to allow them to make their own decisions. All right, thanks, Robo. I think you're on mute.
Sorry, it was on mute, yeah. And then, you know, just to add to that, I think one thing we're trying to really develop in our coaching staff, myself included, is not coaching on the ball because the player's busy. The best time to give feedback is, you know, centre back maybe makes a bad decision. Right in that moment, they're thinking about that decision. They're probably still engaged in the play because they're having to recover. It's not the time to give feedback. The time to give feedback is when the ball goes up, it goes on the other side. And then you could talk to the centre back in that moment, or you could talk to the forward when, you know, maybe they've taken a touch away from goal instead of 2 goal when the ball is down by your own goalkeeper. So as staff, we're looking, when is that information? When's the best time to give that? Because again, you know, they're busy. The players are busy. They can't handle too much at the same time, and that's just a fact. And then the last thing I'll say is, you know, and again, you guys, you know, as parents, you've seen the coaches that are non-stop, and you know, you do get some people that'll say that coach is coaching. They're making a noise. How much are the kids learning? Are they talking? Are they joysticking? I remember Gordon Young, who's one of our technical advisors, a good friend of mine. He used to say that he spoke to Davy Moyes when he was the coach at Everton, and you know, Davy Moyes told him that, you know, he gets out, in front of, you know, Liverpool versus Everton, and he'll get out and he'll just say random things like red wine, white wine, and then all the fans will start to go. And he said the players can't hear me. I'm not even coaching the players. I'm just saying stuff, and then the fans get a reaction and they think, right, that's I'm coaching. I'm not coaching. They can't hear me. My time is during training, before the game, half time, and after the game. Jose Mourinho, who done a webinar that I was lucky enough to be on, mentioned that for the first half he just takes notes the first half, and that's his time at half time to give information. It's not during the game because the players are busy. It's at half time, and that's at the very highest level. So if professional athletes don't get instruction, if you watch a professional game, you don't see the coaches telling them to tuck in, maybe the odd information here and there. The information is, and it's not like football or basketball where a coach can call a timeout and say, you pass to there, you pass to there. That's why we love the game. It's spontaneous. Kids make decisions. Sometimes you know, and I say all the time, one of my biggest coaching thing is play or do that. Okay, that works. You know, that's great. We want to be surprised, and there's no X, Y, Z in soccer. So you know, bear these things in mind. If your coach is not, we want our coaches to be energetic. We want them to be engaged. We want them to be receptive, but we don't want them up and down the sideline, screaming and shouting at the kids. That's not our theory. That's something that we've learned from, you know, everything we've researched and read. So thank you, Nate, for that slide. I think that's important on the why. We're not just telling you not to make a noise because don't make a noise and the kids don't like it. Hopefully this gives some background in the why, which is always important.
Sure. Yeah, Robo, can I mention just one more thing? Sorry, just I guess try to paraphrase it. Like in terms of a skilled performer, right? I think this is part of the conversation. Like, are they acquiring more skills, or are they just becoming better adapted to their environment? And some of the recent research is showing that they're just becoming better adapted to their environment. And what are they adapting to? They're adapting to the relevant information that's on the field. And again, we kind of talked about what that might be. You know, where are the gaps? Where's the goal in relation to where you are in possession of the ball, et cetera. So it's not necessarily, you know, the parent yelling from the sideline. That's not going to be the most relevant information that's going to allow them to adapt to be a improving learner or performer. All right. And sometimes it's not the coaching coming from the sideline either. As excited as we get and as passionate as we are, you know, it's the player being able to pick up on field the relevant information based on their own perception, couple it to their action, and then execute, you know? So that's where I think we have to allow them to explore, and we have to be there to support them, right? I mean, coaches have to be there to support them. And sometimes that is being more verbal. Sometimes that is providing direct instruction. But again, I think it's important to give them space to explore, to adapt. And then, yeah, we're there to help guide and nudge them in the right direction.
Yeah, and I just want to be clear, we're not asking you to sit silent. You know, cheer, encourage, be positive. That's part of it, and that's important to create that environment. This one is, you know, if you've been on any of my presentations before as a player, as a parent, you've seen this one. I call this the speed bump theory. You know, speed bumps are what we need at Legacy right now, but you know, speed bumps, they slow you down. Whereas barriers, they stop you. So, you know, we talk about the speed bump theory, and I think there's a slide or a video I play. I'm not going to play it tonight in the interest of time. I'm happy to share it with everyone. But famous failures, all the people who have had, you know, adversity, whether it be Albert Einstein, Steve Jobs, Walt Disney, Oprah Winfrey, all these people that have had major adversity, and I think that there's some data to show that everyone, you know, that even at the highest level, they've faced some, you know, some setback. You know, this young man here, Matteo Sorrentino, played at the club. I think at U14s he didn't make the red team. He was on a white team, and then he worked hard, made the red team again. Ended up being the captain at Czech Republic, went off, you know, and signed with St Mary's in college. But you know, everyone's down there at some point. I could go on all night and talk about players who have been down there, and then they get there, and then they're back down again, and that's just part of the overall, you know, progression of a player. And it's really important to understand that it's not a linear pathway. There's definitely going to be setbacks. You know, even some academies, and I've been visiting Europe. They do what they call is induced trauma. So they deliberately throw a curveball to a player. So they bench a player, don't tell them why, and they want to see how the player reacts. So that's induced trauma. So you know, maybe we're not there yet, but there's definitely a reason, and certainly data to show that kids that struggle at some point, it helps them in the long run. So that's an important one. And then similar you know, similar kind of image here. The reason I've got this one is this young guy here on the left. You probably don't recognize him. It's Christian Pulisic. He was part of this. Is Benjamin Ziemer, a good friend of ours, who we work with at NorCal. This was the ID2 group that went to Europe, and I just want you to look at the height, the relative age effect of Pulisic on some of his his players. And, then he definitely wasn't a dominant player. He had something special, he had something different. But what he had was a drive, and he spent a lot of time with the ball. So again, I know there's a lot of players out there that biologically they grow in different times and different stages. The strong athletic player at 12 right now might not be that strong. They might be if they continue to work, but similarly, the small little player who works hard and has a feel for the game and studies the game, they can go in different directions at different times. So I don't know if you've seen this one, Nate, but that's Pulisic right there. Have you seen that one?
No, I've never seen that picture. It's a great picture.
Yeah, great picture. Yeah. Okay, this video here, this is one of my favorites ever. It's not that old. This is Robin van Persie, who was quite a career, played at Man United, then Arsenal, then Man United, right? And I think he won the league at both clubs. But he talks from his experience about his own son. We hear, obviously, one thing I like to tell my players is don't count your minutes, make your minutes count. And very often, as the coach's dream is parents who, they hold their players accountable, they hold their kids accountable, not just because it's important in soccer, but ultimately in life. Coaches are there to make sure they're nourished, they're safe, we'll answer your questions, but ultimately, if a player's having a tough time in terms of their time on the field, then it's easy to point fingers, but can we encourage them to look at themselves first? And this is a really good message that I think is great for everyone. So I'm going to play Robin again. Nate, if you can give me a thumbs up, that would be great.
Actually had this chat last week, funny enough, seriously, with my son. So my son plays at Feyenoord. He played against Ajax under 14. He was on the bench. He didn't play. So in the car on the way back, he was like a bit moody, disappointed, complaining a little bit about others, about the coach, etc. And then I said, but Shaquille, I said, you sound like a loser, if you talk like this in a way, you sound like you lost. I said, you are blaming him, you're blaming her, you're blaming this, you're blaming everything. I said, but I don't hear one single thing about yourself. I said, winners, I said, they take control and they blame themselves and they look where they can improve. Yeah. And this is what you should be thinking about. So I didn't tell him what he should think about. You should ask yourself the question, are you a loser or are you a winner? I said, for me, it doesn't matter. I said, because I'm your dad. I said, the only job I have and your mom has is when you're 20, that you're a good boy, that you're ready for life. You can make your mistakes, you can do what you want. I love you for the same amount. It doesn't matter for me if you make it as a football player or not. I said, but you say that this is your passion. So you should take control of your life and stop complaining, because it sounds like a loser. I said, and I don't mind. If you want to be a loser, be a loser. I still love you as much. I said, it doesn't matter for me. I said, but if you want to be a winner, take control of your life and stop complaining about others. And then I watched him train the next morning. My wife said, where are you going? I said, I'm going to watch this session. 2 days later, actually, because they played on Saturday and Monday morning. So I'm there sitting, cold, hoodie on. I'm looking and I see this tiger training, running, working. And I was like, okay. He realized he has to take control of his life. He's 13 now.
Yeah, it's a very powerful message. I've got a couple of messages there to say, that people have seen that and they enjoy it. So that's a really good message. And again, I'll share this entire slide deck along with the video links to everyone. So if you want to show it to your kids, then yeah, we'd appreciate that. This is not our quote. I tried to find who wrote this, and no one gets the credit for it. But I think there's a lot of good stuff in here. I'll let you read it, and then Nate's going to speak a little bit to it briefly. Yeah, and so I'll give you a chance to read it. And I think the bottom line is if we ask everyone on this call right now, would you prefer your kid to be a really good top soccer player or a good person and a good human being who's successful in life? I think I know the answer. It's a rhetorical question. It's a rhetorical question. Nate, you wanted to chime in here as well?
Sure. I mean, I think you can take this one step further and apply it to the player as well. Like the player's ability to kick a ball says nothing about them as a person, right? And I think that speaks again to Robo's point about are we just about top elite footballers, or are we also trying to help develop the person as well? And I think we're definitely trying to help develop the person. And back when Robo showed the pyramid or the pathway from our U6s up to lifetime soccer, I think within that as a club we have to prepare ourselves for like variance and outcome. And what I mean by that is to be able to nurture and help develop the players that want to be pros, that want to try to do this for a living, right? Put food on the table. The players that want to play in college, right? We want to try to be the club that can support and help them, but also the players that just want to enjoy their experience and use soccer as a vehicle to connect with people and build community. We need to be able to place for them, and those that are more recreational and want to come out, and I use recreational in the highest sense of the word, recreating something themselves, again, their community, and they just want to have a kick around, and it's like, how can we be a place that helps to nurture all of these different pathways? And I think the best educational places are able to help prepare for that variance and outcome. It's a good thing that we want to try to leverage as strengths of the individual, and then again, I think strengths for our club. But just to reiterate, a player's ability to kick a ball says nothing about them as a person.
Great, thank you. And then I think this is my last video slide. This gentleman here, John O'Sullivan, this is a TED Talk, which I'll share the entire link with. I have permission to chop this up. John is a friend of the club. Some of you have been in the club for a while. Man, I want to say, geez, about 8 years ago, came out, and we hired him to come out, to present to our parents, our parent meeting, which was in the school at the time. And he then went on to become a national bestseller. He's well renowned, and I'm still in touch with him. I just spoke to him actually last week. So he's got some great advice. This is a very short snippet of a TED Talk. Again, I'll share it with you. And he talks about, well, for me, and I'll speak hand in heart, that this is what I use as a parent. I have both kids that play in the club, and I definitely practice this one, and I found it very effective. So very short clip from John on the 5 magic words. I think most of you've probably heard them already, or you can guess. We should have done a chat survey. What can they be? We could have had some interesting answers.
Story of my friend Stephanie Emerson. Stephanie's the mom of 4 boys, 4 athletes.
A little more volume, Robo.
One of her
You can.
sons actually made the U.S. Youth National.
Yeah, I'm screen recording this one, so I don't know if I can get any more volume than that. But I think this is as much as I can get, Nate.
All right.
Soccer. And Stephanie and I were talking when I was writing my book, because the whole race to nowhere was just killing her in youth sports. The pressure, the time, the commitments. She said, "John, please give me your single best piece of advice." And I told Stephanie, "You know what, Steph? Just tell your kids you love watching them play." So she looks at me kind of funny, and she takes a step back. She's like, "Really? That's the best you got?" It's like, "John, I'm sorry, you're my friend, but you're not going to sell any books with that stuff." So fast forward a year, Stephanie sent me a letter, and I want to read it to you today. It says, "John, a year ago, you told me to simply love watching my kids play. And that's the only thing I say to the kids. I don't say anything about how they played or wins and losses, just that it's such a privilege and honor to watch them. It's amazing how each time I say it, it becomes more true and more impactful for even me. It has opened my eyes to a whole other kind of joy and contentment." Stephanie, simply by learning to love watching her kids play, changed everything. Peter Smith changed everything in his family, and you guys can too. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not saying it's a one-time thing, and I'm not saying that you won't slip up. Everyone slips up. I slip up. one of the things that kids say is one of their worst memories in youth sports is the ride home after games, because the parents give them a hard time. Well, when my son TJ started playing soccer, I was his first coach. And he shows up at the first game and he steps on the field and goes, "Dad, I don't want to play today." And he walks off. I was okay with that. But when he did it the next week, now I was a little bit upset. Now I was wondering, this isn't so good. I was embarrassed. I'm wondering what these parents are thinking of me. I'm supposed to be this all-star coach and I can't even get my own kid to play. So we get in the car after the game and I'm buckling myself in, my son's in the back, and I turn around, I'm like, "So TJ," and all of a sudden, wham, karate chop from my wife sitting next to me in the front seat. And she looks at me, she says, "Really? Didn't you just write a whole book about this? Can you please just drive us home?" And I said nothing, and he's played ever since.
So I just, and again, if the audio was a little low, we'll share it with you. I'll share the entire TED talk. But yeah, I mean, that's, I think there's a lot in that as well. I've been there myself. You definitely slip up. We all slip up. We're not perfect. John doesn't claim to be. We don't claim to be. Nate, you've got no idea what's coming when your kids start playing. As I mentioned earlier on at the start, it was his daughter's first night tonight. So it's not easy. It's not easy, but I think with a concerted effort, we can help create the environment that we want to create. One thing John says, I've spoken to him a few times, many times offline, and he said that kids love their grandparents coming to watch, because all the grandparents want to do is just watch the kids. They don't know who they're playing or what the score. They don't get in. There might be some that do, but grandparents go to watch their kids because they just want to see their kids play. So I thought that was an interesting point he made as well. So last slide.
Story of my friend Stephanie Emerson. Stephanie's the mom.
Last slide, our last two slides. We have our and again, we have a sportsmanship agreement that you all sign off on at the start of the year. And I know how it is when you're going through a bunch of, paperwork and administration. You don't always read it, but it's there for your reference. We do have a sportsmanship agreement that we have, and you sign off on it. So you have committed to maintaining and upholding the standards that we set a legacy. And like I say, this isn't a reactionary meeting because we've witnessed anything, that makes us think that we're not going to, hold ourselves to the high standard. Far from it. In fact, like I mentioned, we were really proud of the conduct of our families at the tournaments we witnessed, but we just want to remind you that we are, as we get back into the game that we love and we've missed for so long because of the obvious, let's keep things in perspective. And let's remember that we're here to support our kids. And there have been times, unfortunately, we've had to sanction players or families, and ultimately it's the player that suffers because of maybe the actions of their parents. So we hope that doesn't happen again. We've got no reason to think that it will. But please be advocates for your team, for your children, and again for the club, because we're very proud of the reputation we have. Just come back to the previous slide. I'm going to send you, NorCal have partnered with the Sideline Project. There's a little pledge where you can watch a quick video, sign it, and then your name appears on the website. We know that anyone can sign anything, and at times it could be lip service, but I really encourage everyone to do that, because it does give you a few minutes to reflect. And when you write your name on something, maybe it holds you that touch more accountable. So there's a short video, 2-minute video, and then you basically, you sign your name and it appears on a wall of people that made the pledge. So it's an initiative that NorCal have just started. I'll send full information when I send out the slide deck and all the remaining videos. So again, we want to get done within the hour. We've got about 6 or 7 minutes left, conscious of everyone's time. There's one question that came in that I'll answer. If there's other questions, feel free to throw them in the Q&A. And then the question is about the pressure from parents off the field in terms of getting a college scholarship, etc. Yeah, it's definitely there. I would say this, that and this is not a throwaway line. There's there's opportunities for kids to vast majority of kids, if they want to play soccer in college, they can. The challenge we have is a lot of them want to play in the same schools. They want to play in the, they want to be in the West Coast. They want to be near the beach. They want to play in a high academic school. If you want to go out to, North Dakota and play NAIA Division 3, there's a good chance that that's there for you. Now, no disrespect to that area, but a lot of the kids from California, they don't want to go there. So, there's opportunities if you really want to do it. And this is for the older players. We have, we've quite a positive turnaround of players that go off and play, collegiate soccer. But what I will say is, and I'll speak as an educator first, teaching background, and I know Nate will say the same. You go to school first to go to school. If you've got a chance to go and pursue high academics, never sacrifice that. And because at the end of the day, soccer is a great vehicle. You can play soccer at many different levels, whether it be intramural in college, whether it be recreation in college. The club team program is something that a lot of players enjoy. And if you get the both, if you get the academics and you get your collegiate side, you're in the minority, and that's the cherry on the top. So we hope that people look at their investment in club soccer as an investment in their kids' mental health, their ability to develop their interpersonal skills, to become more employable adults, to become people that can be resilient, that can solve problems, they can work as part of a team, they can deal with adversity, they can deal with disappointment. That's where the investment comes. So, I think that's the quote unquote scholarship that everyone gets, regardless of the level they get. So, and I always say that if you're playing club soccer for a college scholarship, then, save your money, put the fees away every month. We don't want you to do that. And you're much more, and do something else that's maybe free or recreational, and you've got a much better opportunity in covering your college that way. And again, I don't mean that in a kind of dismissive way, but I think that the reason to play club soccer is not for the golden ticket. And I think that most people are well-rounded enough to see that. But I do understand the pressures of that elusive college scholarship. So hopefully that answers that question a little bit more long-winded than I'd have liked. And Nate, do you have anything to add to that? Or
no, I think you spoke to it well, Robo. I mean, I'll just kind of reiterate that I think if you come to the club and put forward a financial investment and expect a short-term financial investment on the back end in terms of college scholarship, that could be the wrong approach, right? That's kind of like a short-term money on money gain, and we're trying to play the long game in a sense, right? We're trying to play the infinite game. So don't want to go too much off on a tangent, but yeah, when the whistle starts, there's a game there. And for our older teams, or every teams, we want to try to play, compete, and win. But then when the whistle blows, okay, it's a finite game. It's done. We agreed upon the rules. The more infinite game that we want to play is how do the players continue to come back, continue to enjoy the game, and kind of play the longer term game in terms of the type of people they are when they leave us. So yeah, the pressure is legitimate. I'm not going to deny that. I know from my recruiting college experience, it was the first time that, and this is just my experience, it's not true for everyone, but it was the first time that I would say I kind of saw the dark side of soccer. Okay, it exists, it's there, right? And I think a lot of our kids are maybe a little bit more worldly than I was. So they have maybe already experienced the business side of soccer, but once it started to be about, real money and really hard decisions, it became stressful on me as a young person. But that doesn't mean that it can't be navigated and it can't be done in the right way, and it can't be like a fantastic experience. I think when I played college soccer, I hit a home run in many respects in terms of where I ended up. But I know that process can be stressful. And ultimately we want to try to be the club that can support the players through this process, help them through this process. And the over the top pressure off the field, it doesn't make it that enjoyable from personal experience. So, yeah.
Well, we just want to thank you, Justin. Is there anything you want to add? I think you were there more just to deal with any questions that come up. It doesn't seem like there was any, but we want to thank you. We've kept it. I think we're at 59 minutes now, so we just kept it under the hour. We want to thank you for everything, for your commitment to the club, your patience. The year has been, is, as you know, very challenging. And I can speak again. I'll put my parent hat on, and getting out there and watching the kids running around and doing something that they love with teammates, and getting some exercise is a real privilege. So thank you for believing in the club. Thank you for continuing to be an ambassador for the club, and we thank you for your time tonight. So I'll send the slide deck, the video, and all the links by tonight, first thing tomorrow morning at the latest. Thank you once again. Have a good evening. I'm going to end it in 30 seconds, guys. Just a few comments coming in, but no questions. So 30 seconds. I'm going to end it. All right, guys. Have a good evening. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys.
All the
Good
best.
night.
Bye.
Bye.